Hello and welcome. I am Scriberlock. This is City of Heroes. We're with Liberty Lass. Our level 42 Brute is about to hit level 43. And I finished the Rikti story arc. I played about an hour yesterday. And I don't really feel like it was watchable. I was playing the game, but I was ranting about all kinds of stuff from just yesterday was the last day of giving final exams and students and grading, and I ran about a whole bunch of stuff that I can't imagine anybody would want to listen to. So we missed the end of that story arc, but we didn't quite level up, so I figured I'd bring you back to start leveling up, and we'll start a new contact. Janet Kellum. I can't remember who does she sets us up against. I can't remember. Cray. We'll see when we get there. So we're heading to Alice Park. Let's. Where's the base portal? It's right over there. Okay. So we'll head back to the base, and we will um, go to Atlas Park. The anniversary event is still going on. For those of you who are interested, you can still get in on the action. So if you haven't tried City of Heroes yet and you have a computer, most of you probably do if you have a computer at all that can run City of Heroes, I can certainly recommend it. As you've no doubt seen, I'm having a lot of fun. I've always had a lot of fun playing this game. There were times when individual MMOs that I was playing that were sort of new or I had just started playing, maybe I enjoyed more than playing City of Heroes at the moment. But in the lifespan of the last 20 years of playing MMOs, I don't think any one compares to City of Heroes. This one is my favorite, and it's the only one I always kept coming back to. I'm not going back to Star Wars: The Old Republic. I'm not going back to the Star Wars Galaxies on the emulators. I'm not going back to trying to go back to Saga of Rhizome or any of these other things. And if you haven't seen my other videos, this little time capsule, if you click on that, it lets you participate in the events. But I've already done that. I've got a whole bunch of event tokens that I have no interest in using, so probably won't collect any more of those. We've maxed out our salvage again. I need to put some of these away. Right now we have 374 reward merits, which means we need about exactly 226 to get our next ATO and final ATO set, since there are two for each archetype. Okay, I always do this. I forget to go through this door, or I skip going through this door and figure I'll come back to it, and then I go all the way down the hallway and I can't figure out what I missed on a map like this. So yes, we're fighting Cray. Goodbye, Cray. One? I was going to say, why is there only one? Why are there only two? These are minions. There should be three, no? In a normal spawn? So I also think I misspoke when I was talking about how many levels we needed to get all of our enhancements. If we're going to 6-slot this and 4-slot this and 6-slot this and this. And I said I think we'd be there at level 46. It's actually, I think it's going to be 48, because 47 gets you new powers. And I don't know what slots I'm going to need to put on the epic powers. I'm not sure if I'm going to need any. We'll just see. Honestly, I don't need any more powers with this character. Right? I feel like she's got all the power she needs, and what I really would love to do is forgo all the powers of the epic pool and just put slots in my existing powers. I don't feel like the epic pool is going to buy me anything that I don't already have better in my primaries and secondaries. It stacks, but I mean, so would enhancements. Yeah, I kind of wish one thing they never did that and I'm sure for various technical reasons they couldn't, but one of the things I always wish they would have done would have been to allow you, once you're in over level 40, at the break points where you get new powers, at least once choose to get slots instead. I'm always aching for more slots, and we have aggro to second spawn, but that's no problem because these guys are orange, and orange is just not a real threat to us. Now this guy's purple. Oh, he's a boss. Okay, let's go ahead and put Strength of Will on. That should be all we need. I don't think we're going to need the Hasten because I don't think he's got any way to slow us. He's energy melee like we are. How dare he? But he can't Well, I guess he's energy blast too, but he can't really disorient me because I have much too high hold protection, especially with strength of will going. 25? Yeah, you can't break that. At least not a normal. I mean, maybe an arch villain can, but not a normal villain, not a normal um, um, boss. So yeah, it is almost my vacation. I technically in 2 days have to go to graduation, but other than that, I'm done. I turned in all my grades and all the student whining is done. Students frequently beg us, "Can't you just round me up?" And that's all over with. I mean, I guess they could still email me, but I'm not going to answer them. I can't really do anything now anyway. Final grading is complete, and the only way to make any changes at my university is to file a change of grade form at this point and explain to the registrar why. And because the student asked me for a higher grade is not a valid answer. It is one way to kind of end the whining is to just say, sorry, I've already submitted final grades. Please file a grade appeal. Oh, did I go up an elevator without exploring that floor below? I did, didn't I? I didn't explore the whole thing. We've got to cover the whole thing because this is a defeat all. So we have to clean out the whole thing. So let's finish this level. I'll go back there, which is where we came from, and make sure that I clean the rest of that level out. Because, yeah, I went through the door and then I didn't go back, did I? Okay, so these are dead ends. You got to wonder, why would anyone put a double sealed door in front of an empty hall, in front of an empty thing, you know? I don't know. I feel like if it, at least they put a little bit of something in here, a lab bench or something, that you say, okay, well, it's hermetically sealed because they're experimenting something, but they're not experimenting on anything if the room is empty, are they? And some of the rooms have just visually a little bit of a doorway. I'll see if I can find one I can show you. At least if that's behind the airlock, you say, okay, well, technically, even though I can't use it, it's an exit. These, like, are technically exits, even though I can't click on them. So they're kind of like the doorways in an office that lead to other rooms, but they don't open. So you could see, you know, if there's hermetic seal across this, okay, maybe these two lead to places that aren't part of my mission, but you would want to, you know, protect from whatever's entering. Uh, but yeah, it's just sort of weird when there's a corridor like that with nothing in it. All right, so we're going to head to the next level. Yeah, I think OXD or ODX. I can't remember the poster's name, but the one person posted and said I had been talking about the auction house and the stock market and how I've never really wanted to try to play the stock market or anything. And the person commenting said, you know, no risk, no reward, kind of. I can't remember the exact phrasing. It's actually pretty cool phrasing, but it was sort of like you're not going to. There's no reward without risk. That's true, but I've always been risk averse, and I probably get that from my parents. I remember my mother telling the story of I have no idea what the stock is worth now, but at the time she told this story, Resorts International was huge, and it was worth a lot of money as a stock, and it was a huge corporation. And she was telling the story of when right after in the '60s when she married my dad, um, he had this opportunity to invest, and I guess there was some minimum, you know, but he had this opportunity to invest in Resorts International, invest in a stock that he'd never heard of, right? And you know, it was supposedly a great opportunity, and I can't remember what the minimum was. You had to invest at least $5,000 or something. And back then, or I don't remember how many thousand. Back then, you could buy a car for less than that, right? Cars in the 60s cost like $1,500, $2,000, and so it was at least that. It was like that much. So nowadays, it would be probably the equivalent of about 25,000. And they technically had the money, but it would have taken a lot of what they had, and they were afraid of the risk, and so they decided not to do it, not to go in on it with whoever had made the offer. And my mother said, "Yeah, it's at Resorts International, right?" So they went in on it at whatever it would have been back then, a couple bucks a share if they'd gone in on it. And then when my mother was telling this story, it was like $100 a share. I don't know what it was, $50 a share. It was a lot more. They would have made a killing, but they were unwilling to take the risk with what little money they had. No risk, no reward is true, but also you don't lose your shirt either. And, I don't think I had come along yet, but they were certainly planning to have children, and I don't think my father wanted to risk the, money that he would need to support his family and that kind of stuff. Now, obviously, he would have had a lot more money if he had invested, but you never know. You can also lose a lot of money. They just came out with some sort of an investment report. The Disney Corporation has lost millions. Its stock um, has lost, at the time of the report that I saw, lost like 14, 15% of its value just in the last quarter, I believe. Not to harsh on Disney, I don't care, but that's the kind of thing that scares some of us who are investors. And I know even with my retirement portfolio, it's definitely fluctuated up and down, and I've lost a lot of money and said, oh, I wish I had just put it in my savings account. On the other hand, it's a lot more money than I could have saved because my employer is willing to match it as long as I'm going into this kind of investment and not just putting it under my mattress or what have you. Um, yeah, I mean, there was even a scene, I think, just a moment in the show Castle where the Lieutenant Montgomery, who I really like, the first lieutenant on the show, first 3 seasons, they were talking about some large amount of money, and he said if I had that kind of scratch, I'd put it somewhere safe, like in my mattress. I wouldn't necessarily do that, but I've always been in ecology, which is my field. They talk about organisms that are risk averse, animals for animal behavior. They talk about animals that are risk averse versus animals that are risk prone, and I'm definitely risk averse, right? So risk averse animals in scientific terms, an organism that's risk averse is looking for stability. So you're making a choice based on the long-term average, and you're looking for the best long-term average. Whereas if you're risk prone, you're looking for the spikes, right? The extremes. So you'll go for a resource that could be super valuable rather than, but it also could give you nothing, right? And you take a huge loss. This is like foraging, like animal foraging, animals finding food. So an organism that's risk averse will choose the low quality but reliable food every time, and the animal that's risk prone will choose the food that's sometimes high quality, sometimes nothing. Right? If you get nothing, then you've spent energy and got nothing back. Right? So the sort of the classic way to do it, to sort of model it, is to have one food source that gives you a nutritional value in the abstract of one or zero, or of one every time, and another food source that gives a nutritional value of 0 or 2 with some random chance, right? And the risk averse organism will choose 1, and the risk prone organism will choose the one that can give a 0 or 2. And there's all kinds of ecological theory as to why you would be risk averse versus risk prone. A lot of it has to do with whether you're living in a variable environment, whether you're a long lived organism, and that kind of thing. Right? Organisms that live a longer time tend to be more risk averse because it's the long term average that matters, not the extremes. And the organisms that have shorter lifespans, they can maybe afford to get away with just a couple of lucky breaks and then they're dead anyway, so it doesn't matter. So anyway, there's all kinds of ecological theory about that, but it's very clear when you study the behavior that I am a very, very extreme risk averse organism. And it's interesting that um, both personality types coexist in a lot of species, and obviously in humans. And we have leveled up, guys. Yeah, I mean, you can even see this in how I play City of Heroes. My character rarely face plants. I don't do plus. I'm not doing +3 times 2 or something here, right? I'm doing, well, before we leveled up, our missions are set to +2, which is very comfortable. It's a good, solid gain of XP. It's enough of a challenge to keep it interesting for me, although we're getting close to being able to move it up to +3s. And the main reason not to is just the aggravations of the miss streaks. But yeah, I have a very risk averse way of playing City of Heroes. I didn't think about it in those terms, but that was very clear even when the game first launched. There's so many of my friends and supergroup mates were always in debt. And some of it was just that they were playing blasters and I was playing a scrapper. And as we know, once you start getting SOs, scrappers are much more powerful and invincible than blasters, especially they were at launch when there were no sets and blasters had no defense at all. They were like tissue paper and they would just faceplant a lot. But if you look at how they played, my supergroup mates from back in launch times and the first couple years of the game also took much bigger risks when soloing and much bigger risks than I wanted to take when we were on teams. And they would, a couple of them would kind of get frustrated at me because I would want to pull, and they're like, "Nah, let's just dive in." And they didn't care. Let's dive in. If we all faceplant, who cares? We'll just go to the hospital. I'm like, that's a huge waste of time when we could just pull a couple of guys out of the spawn much faster, take them out, and then go into a reduced spawn safely. Um, Maybe they thought it was boring. I don't know, but I always played it rather safe. The interesting thing is in my role-playing game group, my tabletop game group, well, my virtual tabletop group, when I was the player, I was always pushing forward and taking more risks because other than my best friend, because this happened when he was a GM, all the other players are way more risk averse than I am, and they're super cautious, which is really kind of interesting. Given how risk averse I am, it's weird that I'm not the most risk averse member of our group when we're playing. That's not what I wanted. I wanted what I well. Let's see. Do I need? Is there anything I can make that I need? Let's see. We're gonna need heals, endurance mod, potentially jump. I could do with a resistance, and I could do with another defense. So let's see. Oh, endurance mod. We do have it. Excellent. No, I guess we don't have it. We have the ability to make them, but we don't actually have them. So let's hide unowned recipes. There we go. Let's see what we've got here. Don't need run, don't need damage. Well, we're going to need damage later, right? Let's go ahead and grab that. And we'll slide this over here. Slap it in there. We have a defense already. I should look at this more because I made a bunch when I leveled up to 42, and then I found out I had some already, some of what I made. Okay, so let's see. We're going to put yellers in here. All of my whites are full and my vault, I think. I think the vault's full. Yeah, the vault is full. So I have 290 white salvage plus whatever's in my inventory. We've collected 17 now, orange. So we have 153 more. So that's 443 I have white salvage and about 150 yellow and 17 orange. So that tells you sort of the ratio, kind of. Okay. So we completed that mission. We need to return to Janet, which it means we need to go to Founders Falls. So yeah, it's interesting how compared to like my super group, I was risk averse, but compared to my tabletop group, I'm more risk prone. And and with them, what happened is they were just so ridiculously cautious going through what was an obviously empty house that I just said my elven wizard is just going to step forward and just open the doors. All right, sold all of that. And now available missions. Rescue Ralph. Hour and 15 minutes. Wasn't Rescue Ralph a character in something? Like a cartoon or something? Rescue Ralph? Like he was a guy that rescued people? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like it was something my nephew used to watch years ago. I don't know. He watched all kinds of stuff. He used to watch some sort of a cartoon about, what was it, the Pet Rescue Squad or something. I think it was like two kids that had pets, and the pets were like an animal rescue squad. I can't remember the premise really. These are things that are just like sort of on in the background when you have a little kid around, and like when I was visiting them and stuff. I can't remember which nephew used to watch it. I think it was the younger one, because the older one used to watch Handy Manny, and I remember that it was a handyman because he liked tools and building things and stuff. He liked Legos. He doesn't do any of that anymore. He's 15. He's outgrown it. Kind of a shame, these guys who were doing my air conditioning, when the person came in to do the consulting and give me the quote, he saw all the Legos that I have on one of my shelves. I have like this whole, kind of a one of these like 9 cube shelf things. Are not expensive, and each one of them is like it's like these 9 box shapes, like cubby holes, three and three, 3 rows of three, and so on that I have my Legos in there, kind of on display, the ones that I've built. I actually took down 2 of them and disassembled them. I have all the parts, and I'm gonna see if I can sell them locally. There's a place that takes used books and CDs and video games, and it also takes used board games and Legos and stuff. And not that I would sell it, but I wonder if they take Dungeons and Dragons books. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to try to sell those 2, and if they sell, I'm going to see if I can sell some of the others. But I have them all currently assembled because it takes a long time to like disassemble them and put them away and everything. And so he saw them all sitting up there. I've got a bunch of cool ones, and he said, "Oh, Legos, that's really cool." And I said, "Yeah, I don't make them anymore. My nephew was really into Legos for a while, and so he and I would make Legos together when I visited him. But then in between times, I was buying my own Legos, and Lego is really cool. I enjoy making Lego sets and stuff. I think they're a lot of fun. But when my nephew kind of got tired of it, it just didn't. It just wasn't the same. And I kind of stopped. I actually have. They used to put out these Oh, what was it called? The Lego. I can't remember the names, but it was like what they did was they would have these contests for people to design a really cool Lego set. Lego Create, I think it was called. And the person who won the contest, they would put their Lego out as a set with the instructions and everything. And there was a really cool one, like a fishing cabin that I thought was really nice, and it was supposed to be really complicated to build. And I got it. I'm like, okay, I think I have the skills for it now because I've been building Legos for a while. But by then, my nephew had stopped, and I never built it. It's kind of a waste. So it's still in the box, mint in package, brand new. So if I can sell these used ones for at least an okay price, I may bring the retailer or whatever, the consignment place, my um, fishing cabin that's brand new and see what they can give me for it. I mean, I'm sure I could make. Oh, he's taunted me? Okay, that's fine. I'm sure I could make probably more money selling it on eBay or stuff, but I don't want to deal with like shipping it to people. To me, it's just easier to walk into a store and say here. And this particular store, it sells stuff, right? You can get secondhand books and stuff. So my expectation is I'll go there with a bunch of Legos that I empty the shelves and refill the shelves with a bunch of used books that I buy from the bookstore. Because I'm that kind of stupid. I never clear anything out. I always just replace one amount of junk with another amount of junk. Not that Legos are junk, but you know what I mean. I definitely like collecting things, and I definitely have a habit of starting collecting stuff, doing it for a while, and then kind of getting tired of it or something, and then moving on to a different thing to collect. Wait a minute, are we taking him in? Yeah, we're taking him in. I thought we were leading him out. No, we're leading him to his files. Okay, I guess his files are on the next level. Level 2. So yeah, it's really funny. I was looking forward to summer as the semester was ending. Oh, good. Summer. I can look forward to it this year. Last year I had I didn't have actual health issues, but I had a bit of a health scare. Doesn't matter what. Turned out to be apparently a false alarm, at least as far as we can tell right now. So I didn't enjoy last summer because last summer was when I was getting that looked into, and it was kind of stressful. This year I don't have that, so I was really looking forward to a hopefully stress-free summer. And I was looking forward to summer. I wanted the semester to end because I basically, the students think they're tired. Well, I'm tired too, and I basically had enough. I was ready to. I was feeling burned out, and I was ready to take a break and play some video games. And um, I'm thinking of trying this space game called X4 that looks pretty cool. I've got Millennia still to play. I've got AO Tennis 2 that I still want to play some more of. I'm in the second year of that career. My character's like 200th in the world, so I got a lot more to do. And so, um, yeah, and then I want to do some writing, and there's a lot of books I want to read. I want to try reading, as I said in the previous episode, some lit RPG, and I want to read some more Sanderson, and I want to read Wuthering Heights, and I want to read some philosophy. I've also got somebody mentioned a friend of mine said something about somebody doing something being Machiavellian, and why do I keep missing? And I come on. What are they? Why are they pounding me so badly? And I cannot defeat them. Like, what is going on that I could not hit that guy? Finally, goodness. Um. So anyway, I realized, although I think when I was in high school, one of my history teachers made us. I can't believe. I feel like it was my ninth grade history teacher, but I can't believe it was him because that feels really young to be reading a translation of the original Machiavelli. But I know I've read parts of The Prince, but not the whole thing. I said, I really should read that. It's a classic. Um, it's a very important work in sort of Western thought. I really should read that. I'm kind of going through and trying to read some of those things. I've read St. Augustine's soliloquies, and I want to read a couple more of his things. I've read a book by Bertrand Russell on philosophy that's been really good. I want to read Plato's Republic, and I think I've read The Last Days of Socrates, but it's been years since I read that. And Marcus Aurelius's Meditations or whatever his journal. So there's a lot of like old school stuff that I've never read, and what I'm kind of thinking is kind of alternating between reading something like Sanderson or Lit RPG and then reading some of those classics. You can imagine the literary taste of somebody who's reading this sort of ultra new Lit RPG and then saying, "Yeah, now I want to read Marcus Aurelius's Meditations." Um, and it's really interesting. I was talking with my students about this, and like, I really think this is a concept that a lot of my students, and probably a lot of college students, don't seem to get. Like, they're like, why are you reading these philosophy books? I mean, um, because I want to improve myself, right? I want to enrich myself. I want to learn things, right? I've never stopped wanting to learn. I always liked learning, and I like learning new stuff. And even if you don't just generally like it, it's actually really good for your brain. It promotes neuroplasticity, and that can help stave off things like dementia. And I do think about that because my mom had it, and there is a potential genetic component to that, right? I think there were a lot of environmental factors that affected my mom. Things like the medication she was taking and stuff like that. So if I don't take that medication, hopefully it won't happen to me. But I also think it's really good to keep your brain sharp. Always learn. I always want to keep learning. I always remember I watched a video. It was I don't know, it was 2020 or something years ago, and they were interviewing three elderly people. It was two men and a woman who were over. I think they were all over 90 or 8. They were like 89, 90, 92, and they all said the same thing. You have to keep your mind sharp. I remember the oldest of them was like a 92-year-old ex-lawyer. Well, he was a lawyer, and he wasn't practicing law in the traditional sense. He wasn't going into the courtroom and stuff. But what he was doing, he was retired, obviously, but what he was doing for his law firm that he was retired from was 2 or 3 days a week. He would go in for like from 10 to 2, and he would go into the law library with a legal clerk, and he would pull out the law books, and he would write up precedents and do the research for the a lawyer that was doing the trial, right? So he would prepare a brief, and he purposely went in at like 10 in the morning so that he could go to lunch with the people who were there from like 12 to 1, and then he would come back and work from like 1 to 3 or whatever, and then he would go home. And I don't know if he could drive himself. He's maybe getting a car service to drive him back and forth. And he just did this like a couple of days a week. And he said that kept his mind sharp. You don't want to just sit there and watch television for day after day. And too many people, when they retire, he said, just say, I'm going to, like, I don't want the stress of work, and so I'm not going to work at all. And he said, you got to find yourself some hobbies or something that takes brain power to do. And yeah, learning about philosophy or whatever, I feel like that's a great way to do it. Now, I'm not retirement age, um, but yeah, I always want to try to keep my mind sharp, learning new role-playing games, learning new stuff, trying to write a novel. All of that stuff, writing a novel requires research. Doing the research improves your brain. You learn stuff. So always make those new neurological connections. It's always good for your brain. Anyway, I think we'll stop there, guys. We have wait. I didn't level up. What am I doing? Let's level up. Let's go to Blide Square and level up. What is Montague doing here? Why did he contact me? Does he have a new mission? Oh, he wants me to go to Cimarora. I don't care about Cimarora. We may do it at some point, but like right now we're just going to do the regular story arcs. But let's level up with Volk. Next level, we get 3 slots. So I think, because this is giving us resistance, no, yes, we wanted to 6 slot this for a set, right? Do we need endurance reduction on this? We don't. So we want an accuracy and a damage, I guess, right? Because it doesn't cost any endurance, according to this. And it enhances threat duration, disorient. The enhancement it can take, if you look at the bottom allowed enhancements, threat duration, disorient, recharge speed, damage, and accuracy, but not endurance. We don't need endurance. Technically this power could live 5 slotted, right? Because you really don't need to reduce endurance, and 1 accuracy is probably enough, especially if we swap this out for like a level 50. But I'm going to go ahead and finish it with 6. We'll put another accuracy on it. This way it never misses. And I guess we're going to keep working on heightened senses. We'll worry about turning this into a set after we've got all of our basic. We'll get this finished at level 45. And then at level 46, maybe we could start working on this. Don't know what I'm going to get for my level 44 power. Alright, so now we actually want to go back to the base and get an accuracy and a defense and a damage and a defense. And we had I know we at least had a damage and a defense in there. So we can get that done. I'll tell you one thing I wish they would have let you do. And I guess based on the interface, they wouldn't, I guess they didn't have any way to do this, but I wish they had like where you could left click on an individual power and say auto sort slots so that it would sort the slots. I always want like accuracy first, then endurance, then recharge, then damage. And except for the damage, they kind of go in alphabetical order, but I wish there was some way you could, that it would let you, I'm going to have a damage here and then an accuracy, and that annoys me. I'd rather put the second accuracy out here and move the recharge to the back or something. And you can't do that without quote unquote unslotting, which I find annoying. I never cared when it was SOs because SOs are going to expire, but IOs don't. So we need an accuracy. Let's see, do we have one? We do not. Okay, well, we'll live without it. So we're going to go ahead and put more damage in here. So the total damage now of this power is 500 per hit. Awesome. And then with this, the total defense now is 14%. That's pretty good. 14% defense to non-smashing and non-lethal. Looks good. All right, folks, I think we're going to stop there. Until next time, I am Scrapperlock, and this has been City of Heroes.